It's somebody has raised her hand. Oh no, that's okay. Okay, so I pass the floor to Mrs. Anastasia Pouliou from CEDEFOP in order to start. And after every presentation, we will have also some notes for the questions if you want. Please, in the end, we will have a Q&A session so everyone can raise hand and participate in the process with the questions. Thank you very much. So Anastasia, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. From my side, my name is Anastasia Pouliou. I work at CEDEFOP, which is the European Center for the Development of Vocational Training. We are based in Thessaloniki in Greece, but all our research is mainly targeting all countries, all member states of Europe. Today, first of all, I'd like to thank a lot the organizers for giving me the opportunity to present to you what we have been doing with this important, let's say, new word, buzzword, if I may say so, microcredentials, what it really means, what it entails, the content, the profile of microcredentials. But we have actually started many years ago, not now in 2025, actually in 2019, when already after the pandemic, the idea was how can you really upskill, reskill the workforce, what types of instruments are there for people to make their learning, their skills and competencies more visible, especially for employment purposes. So our focus is mainly on the labor market side. Although our agency is mainly dealing with vocational education and training, we are very much interested in understanding what the labor market needs and how micro-credentials can reshape skills and work in that context. I will try and move the slide. There it goes. So as I said before, we started a bit in the past, and we were wondering whether indeed the whole idea of micro-credentials in essence is now is something new. Why is it becoming a big deal nowadays? Of course, I think that this nice visual that you can see in the slides is actually the biggest benefit of micro-credentials. Why do we really talk about them? Is because they're a way to make the skills, competencies, and also the knowledge that somebody has quite present, quite visible. So they actually show what you know now. Now, when we started back in 2019, our study was mainly focusing on three main areas. First of all, we wanted to do an extensive mapping exercise and understand better how member states in Europe conceptualize the term. What exactly do they understand with the term micro-credentials? Is it mainly related to modules, module certificates? Is it a part of a formal qualification? Or is it something that is mainly focusing on the labor market side, what we usually consider as a professional certification or even an industry certification in that context? So we did an extensive mapping exercise back in 2020 when we started, where we engaged with different types of stakeholders. Imagine we were discussing with people from the ministry, with the vet providers, but also employers and employee associations. And our data gave us very precious and important insights that were related to the links of micro-credentials with existing qualification systems and frameworks in different countries in Europe. But also they pointed to the main issue of the topic, what is the added value for the end user. So in that sense, we produced three important publications that were related to the added value, to the mapping exercise we did, and as I said, the evolving role of micro-credentials and the links with qualification frameworks. Afterwards, the European Commission developed an important council recommendation, right? That was a key point in time. Why? Because officially at an EU level now we have a definition. We know now more than before what micro-credentials are, what are their standard elements, in what way they point towards the assessment of achieved learning outcomes, and more or less how important it is to underline their quality assurance arrangement and their portability function, how they can be transferred across settings, across borders. At the same time, the European Commission was asking member states to make efforts in order to increasingly embed micro-credentials in their existing systems. And this is indeed what happened. And now in 2025, and looking towards the future, we are at the stage of deepening our research, understanding better what exactly these types of micro-credentials are and how best they let's say, permeate the different labor market sectors. Currently, we're focusing a lot on quality assurance and recognition arrangements of micro-credentials in Europe. We are very much interested in two labor market sectors I will mention later on, and also the social inclusion aspect of micro-credentials in that sense. So the whole idea is how best we can monitor the implementation side at an European level. This is important. Now, as I said before, micro-credentials are not standalone. They can be even part of, or they can be integrated, let's say, in existing qualification systems and qualification frameworks. And CEDEFOP knows that topic very well. We have been monitoring and analyzing national qualification developments in different countries in Europe many years now. And our latest, let's say, survey that we have done together with the European Commission showed us that countries are really advancing in their, let's say, policy discussions, but also in integrating within their formal systems types of, not necessarily as they call them micro-credentials, but other types, as we have it here, like micro-qualifications, but still the characteristics and the elements behind are very much linked to the way micro-credentials are defined at the European Commission level. So in this case, you will see that specific countries, for instance, in this case, they are referring to micro qualifications that are part of adult education, and these are stackable. They can be stacked and they can be part of a full qualification, and this is very important. In Netherlands, for example, they can also, or in other countries, they can be also awarded outside formal education. And here we understand that the procedure actually includes a validity check on the training provider. This is an important step, and then they can also apply for levels classification in that country. Now, within that context, what I tried to do in 2024, draft a working paper on the topic, because what I saw from the research that, and the data that we were collecting is that there is this emergence of micro-credentials in vocational education and training, but as they can be, let's say, a new tool to reorient, let's say, this type of education. But for sure, we need to understand what exactly they are. So in that sense, what I try to design is some kind of scenarios for the future of micro-credentials, and they are there in essence to show abstract representations of existing types of micro-credentials that can be used to enable critical discussions in different countries. So you at the same time that you're mainly working in the construction sector, you need to understand in which of these scenarios your, let's say, the specific types of micro-credentials that can be there could definitely belong to. Perhaps scenario 3, which is mainly the demand-driven micro-credentials, meaning the ones that come from the need of the demand side, let's say the enterprises, the sectors, could be potentially more relevant. Because what we say a lot is that micro-credentials are very much, let's say, industry-led. I think somebody took the control of my presentation, but I will try to take it back. I'm continuing with a specific slide that says that micro-credentials at the moment are not necessarily part of the formal system, but they can be part in the wider landscape of non-formal education and training. So in that sense, you will see that we understand that all types of credentials that can be there in the non-formal setting are very important for our research. These can concern professional credentials that are specially designed for learners to build in-demand career skills in the non-formal setting, or we can look at programs that are not necessarily formally recognized, or they are not forming part of a formal education training program. For us, these are very important types of credentials. We really try to have a broader approach, and we are very much interested in the provider side. Who is actually providing those credentials? It can be companies, private training providers, labor market stakeholders. But I mean, all of these, let's say, end users are very important for us in our study. Now, what we would like to explore in this year, and more research results will come if you check the CEDEFOP website on that matter, is the diversity of those types of credentials that we find outside the formal system. So what we are mainly asking is what are their main features, what is their content and profile, and which is their function. Is it mainly for career advancement, for career progression, or are they mainly used for upskilling pathways? And these are critical questions you should always ask yourselves within the construction sector. For what reason we are indeed discussing the topic of micro-credentials. What is the main function behind, if we think about the vast array of private of providers that exist, and you know, the ones that are actually delivering that learning. Of course, as I said before, recognition and validation is a key element, and we are very much interested to understand whether there is any potential, let's say, any opportunity to develop automatic recognition of micro-credentials, similar to what is already happening with full qualifications, with formal qualifications in different countries. Now, we are having different research tools, different templates we are using to understand the issue more. Mainly here, you can see in this slide, my main question, of course, I'm not going to read it, it's quite dense, but I'm very much interested in understanding the characteristics of the micro-credentials in focus. For example, where are they found? Where we can see them? What type of country? In which country they are, you know, being, let's say, issued, which is the provider. Very, very importantly, number two, what are the learning outcomes achieved? Quite often our evidence shows that many types of micro-credentials are mainly, we mainly have a content description, but we are very much interested in understanding better the learning outcomes achieved. Whether there's a link to the NQF, EQF level, what is happening with credit bearing, are there any credits allocated? Of course, we no longer talk about ECVET. This is no longer used, but definitely the ECTS, let's say, accumulation of credits at higher education level is an important element. What type of assessments is used, whether they can be indeed part of the formal education training system or mainly they are being placed outside, so how best they can be recognized in that sense. And of course, stakeholder relevance is a key aspect. It's part of my overall theme of the presentation. What is really happening with the industry? Do employers recognize those credentials? Are they used for recruitment purposes? This is important. Of course, quality assurance arrangements are a key element. And here you see we try to cover them from different perspectives, and definitely with regards to assessment processes, since there are different tools used also in the different labor market sectors we're exploring. I mean, we definitely need to go into a better detail and to understand better how these learning outcomes are achieved and how they are assessed, mainly in order for somebody to get a kind of a micro-credential or a certification in that sense. Now, as I said before, in this year, 2026, actually, we will be focusing from CEDEFOP side on two labor market sectors. One, of course, is your sector, construction sector, also from our side focusing on greening, but we are also focusing on the culture and creative industries. We find that these two sectors are very, very important because they are very different in their nature. For example, a distinct feature of the construction sector, to the way I have been reading about it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that there is a universal presence of subcontracting, which makes the control of employees' skills and qualifications quite challenging for the main contractors. And at the same time, if we talk about the cultural and creative industry sector, it's a quite different one. It is characterized by a high share of self-employed people. So you see these two sectors are very different in that sense, but they can really show us the potential of micro-credentials for upskilling in the sectors. Here I'm just showing you a bit the concrete issues on that sector. On the first one I mentioned, the CCI. Of course, this is a quite broad spectrum. It talks about performing arts, visual arts, film, television, radio, design, graphic design, video gaming, advertising, marketing, architecture. Imagine this is a very diverse, big sector. It combines all this artistic and cultural creativity. But what is interesting here for us is that quite often these skills and competencies are hidden already in other sectors. So you need to consider whether in construction, for example, you have elements from the creative and cultural part of the economy because they can be there somehow implicitly hidden. And this diversity of sector actually means that these insights are applied to a range of other sectors, as I said. Of course, 8.7 million people are employed within that sector. And for us, this is an important area of work. At the same time, we look at in similar ways, what is happening with construction sector and the focus on greening, we see again that it's a quite widespread sector with large and small employers and large share of migrant workers. And quite often here I understand there's a need for this social dialogue. So in that sense, the skills developed in the construction industry, and particularly those that are related to sustainable building practices, for example, or to digital tools like building information modeling and health and safety, for example, are very, very relevant. And again, not only relevant within construction, but also in other sectors of the economy that undergo similar transitions. Here, it's important to understand that again, it's a big sector. You have like a total of 5.6 million persons that are employed in the sector, but there is a lot of need for upskilling for two reasons. Of course, the green and the digital one. And the green transition has a huge impact on the sector, also from my reading and the desk research I've been doing. And there has been already some nice developments. Here I was aware of the EU Renovation Wave strategy and the energy performance of buildings directive. And these two, let's say, developments are in essence pushing forward the change with the in-demand skills within the sector. At the same time, there are different sectoral strategies in place, like the Engineers for Europe Skills strategy that I was aware of. And all of these shows that there is a real need to examine better what is happening with micro-credentials. I also realized that if we talk about learning outcomes achieved, for me, it's a very important word. It's not only the both job-specific types of skills and competencies within the sector that are needed, very much linked to construction, but also the more transversal nature of those. So for this reason, what I have here as an acronym, the TSC, is like these transversal skills and competencies that are there, potentially hidden in the different, let's say, occupations, but for sure, for us, they are very important in terms of research and understanding better what is happening with those, right, and how they are linked with micro-credentials. Of course, our, let's say, other selection criteria to decide to zoom in on the construction sector is this institutionalized social dialogue that can take place through trade unions, through industry associations. And again, this structure facilitates somehow the development of micro-credentials, ensuring that they meet. Somebody's playing with my screen. I would appreciate if you're not using my slides. Is it the case that, do you still see the screen I'm sharing?
Yes, we see it.
But unfortunately, I think somebody touched it. That's a problem if you share it with me. Somebody plays with it.
Έχει μείνει όμως στην δεύτερη διαφάνεια μόνο, δεν έχει προχωρήσει καθόλου και βλέπω ότι έχετε 19 διαφάνειες.
Και είμαι στη 17 ήδη. Sorry.
Before we have seen now you return back to the second slide.
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know how that, I didn't touch anything, but somebody else perhaps did. Do you mind if I reshare and I'm finishing because I don't want to take the time of somebody else? Just a second. Normally I should...
Aspa, maybe you could leave only us as presenters and put everyone else in the...
Apologies for this. Somebody touched it, so that's created the problem. Just a second. You still see my screen, right? I think I was...
Yes, you are moving the screen up. So a couple of slides more.
Sorry for this. So we were here, I think, and I was here, right?
Right.
Just a bit very quickly, and apologies for the other speakers. As I said, the social dialogue that for us is very important. Also the diversity within the sector, because there's a lot of diverse workforce, including skilled mechanics, engineers, architects, project managers, all of whom require different skills and certifications. For us, this is very important. And lastly, there's a high share of migrant workers that, again, it gives us some nice data on the potential of micro-credentials for social inclusion. qualification role and function. Of course, within the research that we will be producing, we will give all the insights on these 4 areas about what is happening within the sector, the human capital, the links with existing qualification systems, and also more broadly the macro trends that are shaping the sector. For us also, it's important to understand not only the strengths, but also the weaknesses of microcredentials. One of the important strengths is the labor market responsiveness, as you can see. But at the same time, because there is a lot of proliferations and offerings of microcredentials and different types of providers, we really need to be careful a bit on that. And for this reason, our publications have already pointing towards some nice tips on how to build trust in microcredentials. And this is very much related to the credibility of the providers. Let's say the metadata that are needed in order to allow for comparability within the sector. For us, it's important to understand, as I said, quality assurance arrangement, assessment practices, and also what kind of guidance we can show to the end users in that context. Of course, the future of microcredentials is bright, but they are not a golden solution to everything. They can really allow lifelong learning to take place and workforce adaptability, if I may say so, in the 21st century, and they can definitely empower learners and workers in that sense. But of course, there are different challenges that are involved, as I said before, and we have been doing a lot of research work. We published numerous publications on that aspect. Here you can see a screenshot of those. I will share in the link in the chat the link to CEDEFOP publications. There are 3 research reports, 2 briefing notes, 3 podcasts, and that are already in Spotify and Apple Tunes, so that you can access them and hear more about this research. And just before I finalize my presentation, I would like to invite all of you in a dedicated webinar we are actually having next week, 23rd of October. This is an online event, so please just try to register. I will share the link in the chat, and there we will be discussing all the details of this research, and we will have 4 breakout sessions, and one of those breakout session 1, we will be discussing, as I said before, the CCI sector, cultures and creative industry, and construction sector with renowned speakers in the field. So I would be very happy to welcome you in that event. And these are some links on everything. And thank you very much for the attention, and apologies for the technical difficulty we had with the sharing. Thank you very much. And I will share everything in the link. And I will be here for questions, of course.
Thank you very much, Anastasia. It was a great presentation, actually. Sorry for the technical problem, sometimes happens. Just to let you know, all of you, that also Anastasia will announce it later in the QA session, but CEDEFOP organizes some selected interviews with companies. So if anyone from you here are representing a construction company, or maybe a trade union, Anastasia, I don't know, in the construction sector, if it works for you also. Also, maybe association, federation, can contact her directly. And also, as I wrote in the tips chat, the presentations and recording will be available for all of you after also, because it's a 1-hour webinar and we trying to include too much knowledge for all of you. So I pass the floor to Ms. Anna Diaz now. To follow the conversation.
Thank you. You just need to put my possibility to have the share my presentation. I don't have that menu on at the moment.
You can't share it?
No.
Okay, now?
Yes, thank you. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ana Diaz, and I'm going to present a little bit about the project that we are working on, the micro-credentials in construction sector. That is the name of the project, Green Circle. So this is a Erasmus forward-looking project, a 3-year project. We are in the middle of this project, and we are tackling all some of the issues that Ms. Anastasia Pouliou was mentioning about the micro-credentials. So first of all, let me just present you the objective of the project, that is to identify, develop, test, assess the use of micro-credentials in the construction sector. So we are specifically working with also green skills. We have 11 partners in this project from Portugal, Greece, Spain, and Germany. And we are having partners from the education sector or training and education, and from companies or group of companies. So this has been a great adventure for us all, and we are discussing these topics on upskilling, reskilling, career pathways that micro-credentials can provide and be part of. So one of the things that we made in the first place, let's say, for putting our project on their way was to have a definition, and this definition was the one from the council that was advising to progress with micro-credentials. So micro-credentials are a proof of the learning outcomes that learners has acquired following a short learning experience, which is assessed and validated against transparent standards. So from there, we have also spot the key characteristics. So target learning experience, documented outcomes and assessment, and more flexible than the traditional qualifications, long qualifications. So we are speaking about small chunks of learning that can be updated and upskilling in the workforce in a way that is more flexible. Then, of course, this project was developed in 2022. So all these questions were already on our minds, especially on the minds of our colleagues George and Graham, that were the ones that were most important partners on the development of the project. And one of the things that, or two of the things that we were observing at the moment was, at that moment, in 2022, was the skills shortages in green building from one side, the shortage of personnel and the need for upskilling and rapid training aligned with the industry needs. So we are in the needs of the industry that are bringing this rapidity into place. The agility of micro-credentials are needed. Current challenges that we are facing within the project also, it's the lack of standardization, inconsistent recognition across borders. So all the characteristics that Anastasia was mentioning about the mobility of migrant workers and the possibility to recognize their curriculum along the way and their careers, of course. So we have challenges within our project, and we are trying to face them. Also having agile consultation with stakeholders. Every 6 months, we are consulting people from different outcomes, let's say people from companies, people from agencies, national agencies, or people that are engaged with both education, training, and the sector, construction sector. So we defined within the project a strategy for micro-credentials, a taxonomy. We are defining at the moment the quality assurance project-led quality assurance, and from each agile consultation we are making with the stakeholders, we are proposing more results, let's say, for the project. So in the first place, we have developed these green skills micro-credential ecosystems, where we try to map what are the main people involved, target groups involved, and also type of courses, the credentials, the industry. So trying to map in an ecosystem all the main important, let's say, issues for the framework of the micro-credentials. And some of those were related, of course, to pedagogies and the green skills and the delivery modes that can be online, face-to-face, and different delivery modes. With the learners, their progression, if there is upskilling or career guidance, career progress. Of course, about the courses in terms of learning outcomes, qualification frameworks, and assessment. About credentials, and here we have a big group of challenges: the recognition, the quality, and the issuers. And from the industry side, what are the needs and what are the standards that industry is using? The skill force, the labor market requirements. So there is too many variables in this ecosystem that we must try to understand and be able to provide solutions to. Progressing on the stakeholders consultation seminars during 2024, industry, we concluded that industry is believing on the micro-credential power, and also understanding the lack of the flexibility of the current systems that are more long-term kind of credentials, and taking too long for upskilling personnel and to moving on the needs the market has in terms of the construction sector. So these micro-credentials are important for the construction sector. Besides, we developed also these building blocks for the construction of micro-credentials. So having here some of the most important alignments that we need to make with the different systems, for instance, from the qualifications frameworks, the country and region, the bodies that are awarding these credentials, what is the workload, how many kind of credits, this quality assurance, the assessment. So we saw in the slide from Anastasia some worries about how to issue these micro-credentials. So this is a complementary work or a practical work on that side. Within our project also, we developed this strategy, trying to put in place some of the elements that are considered for us as the most important elements for the learners and earners in terms of specific needs, access criteria, and platform that will issue the micro-credentials. The course elements, we are focusing on green skills, so the green skills in construction sector course elements that are the delivery mode, the qualification framework, the credit system, and the budget revenue and costs for the course. And then the recognition and quality and portability elements that have something that from perspective of recognition of and mobility of workers, it's very important to have the assessment, the recognition, the quality assurance mechanism, and also the digital credentials, because digital credentials are one of the possibilities for a passport, a digital credentials passport. During the consultations in 2025, we have also tackled some of the green skills topics and course content, because we need to put in practice all this in terms of courses, and some of the worries of the stakeholders are about the value, the credibility of the qualifications for the learners and employers alike. So, and the integration in the national qualification and industry sector. So this is the worries that we have and the stakeholders has in terms of the development of these projects, and of course the alignment of the microcredential strategy with national and European policies, because we must be all aligned to be able to have this possible mobility that is already existing of workers. So I will close from here my presentation of the projects, just presenting here one of the work package that we are working on at the moment, that is the development of a quality assurance micro-credential system for our project. And so next we will pilot the micro-credentials and the guide, but I will be passing the word to my colleague, Violeta, that will explain what we constructed as a sustainable model for green skills micro-credentialing in the construction sector. So thank you very much for your attention, and I pass the word to Aspa first. Stop my presentation.
Thank you very much, Anna. So we'll try to incorporate what Anastasia has previously shared with us into the project. So it was very nice, the interconnection. So Violeta, you have the floor now to present.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Anna, and thank you everyone for being with us here today. Let me just share my presentation. Can you hear it? Can you see presentation? Thank you.
Yes.
So good morning, and everyone, and welcome. I'm Violeta Chitinou, and I am participating here representing the Democritos University of Thrace, the Department of Civil Engineering. We are partners of the Green Circle project. And specifically, I will be presenting you the sustainable taxonomy for microcredentials in the construction sector, which was part of our work package 3 for the sustainable model of microcredentials. And in fact, I will present the results that we have already compiled all in the report. So I am very happy that from what I heard from the presentation of Mrs. Pouliou, we think that we are in the very good direction of this, that the gaps we identified are really the ones that exist. So our focus is the development of, exactly, because this is already finished, the development of the sustainable taxonomy for microcredentials in the construction sector, which we think that is an important step toward creating actually transparent, comparable and transferable learning opportunities across Europe. The construction sector, in fact, is at the heart of Europe in terms of green transition. So new regulations, technologies, sustainability standards, all of these are reshaping the skills that are in fact required in our workforce. Traditional education systems, as we know them, often cannot respond quickly enough. And this is where the microcredentials come in, because they are short, they're flexible, and they help the workers to upskill efficiently. However, without the common standards, the value remains unclear. So that is why our work is so important, to build a European model that ensures the quality, the recognition, and as well the mobility. First of all, we should understand what taxonomy in education actually means. So the taxonomy, it's simply a way to organize the learning into something, into meaningful categories, by level, by workload, and of course, by the type of the outcome. In education, what makes a good taxonomy, it's to have a learning that is visible and that is comparable. So for microcredential, it allows us to say, let's say, what a learner actually knows and what can do, regardless of where and how that is learned. So that's the foundation for everyone to trust it and to have a model that is portable and that it can be incorporated in the lifelong learning pathways. I will share briefly the methodology that we use to develop the taxonomy. So we followed these 4 steps of the process that combined, of course, looking into the theoretical frameworks that we have and again, seeing what we have on the national level. We focused, of course, in the partner countries, the 4 partner countries, but more or less this is what is happening in the most of European countries at this point, with very few exceptions. And then we have the empirical research, and we actually have the validation of the model after the taxonomy design. We validate it with using the opinions of the stakeholders. And now we are going to actually implement in the following steps the practical validation after we make the in the forthcoming work packages. So we started with the framework analysis first. We reviewed the European and the international standards. Of course, we have the EQF, as Mrs. Pouliou mentioned. We have the ECTS. There is also some other systems like the ISO 17024, which are very highly used in the construction sector, especially for workers. And we have also the ECVET, which is a legacy now, but it could be used like a framework to have a direction on how to work on that. And this is all to ensure the alignment and the interoperability. Then through the national research that we did with the partner countries, we analyzed the existing ecosystems that they have on the microcredentials, and then we identified the current practices and the key gaps. Based now on this evidence that we had, we proceeded to the taxonomy design, and we created a structure that links the level, the workload, the assessment, the recognition in what we think is a consistent way. And finally, we carried out some validation of this taxonomy to make sure that we can proceed with this in the next level of our research. To have a very brief presentation of our analysis on the current situation. So what we revealed is that there is a very fragmented landscape. Portugal and Spain have begun experimenting with several short courses, but there is no structured framework on progression and pathways. In Greece now, microcredentials are almost absent in the way that we say microcredentials from formal systems. There are several courses that we could say that are presented like short courses, but they could not be under the umbrella of microcredentials as they are now. While in Germany, they do exist mainly through industry-led initiatives that are not connected, let's say, to any academic frameworks. So overall, we saw that Europe has many isolated, let's say, practices and not a unified model. And this is this finding is exactly why shared taxonomy is needed. So, as I said, one of the key findings of our research is that across Europe, the landscape of microcredential, especially in construction, is highly fragmented. We have many good initiatives, but they operate independently using different formats, different standards, and different recognition systems. So we aim to address this critical gap by developing a standardized taxonomy that can actually connect these fragmented efforts that we have across borders. What was our goal? Well, our goal was to make microcredentials understandable, comparable, and transferable, whether they come from a university, a vocational center, or even employer-based training centers. This challenge means that the fragmentation challenge means that learners often cannot transfer their skills from one country or system to another. And on the other hand, the employers, in fact, struggle to evaluate the real value of these credentials. So to overcome this, our taxonomy introduces transparency and provides a clear structure that shows how each credential fits within the European qualification framework and what level it corresponds to and how much learning and effort it presents. So this makes it easier to recognize the learning across academic and vocational contexts. And finally, of course, the stakeholder validation is essential because the stakeholders are the ones who are going to implement the microcredentials. When I say stakeholders, is either the learners, the providers, anyone involved in this. We want this framework to be practical and relevant to the real labor market needs. So we studied the taxonomy, let's say, as a pyramid first. So this pyramid shows, in fact, the strategic priorities that guided us to the development of the taxonomy. At the foundation, we start with the stakeholder needs. That's the most important. So the taxonomy is built around the real requirements of the learners, the employers, and of course, the training providers. That input is what defines and makes a credential useful and trustworthy. The next layer is the integration. Here, we ensure that the taxonomy connects with the existing European qualification frameworks and the credit systems, and also the national vocational systems. So this makes it compatible to, let's say, the current structures that we have, rather than creating something separate that will lead to more confusion. Then comes the recognition, which focuses on enabling cross-border validation. So we want to, let's say, a credential that somebody earned in Greece or in Portugal or in Spain to be understood and valued in Germany or anywhere else in Europe. And at the top of all of this is the standardization, creating a unified classification system that is what brings the order and, of course, the comparability to the diverse world of the microcredentials. So these priorities ensure that the taxonomy is both technically valuable and practically relevant to Europe's green construction workforce. And not only the green construction, because another aim of this project is to take all of this and transfer even to other sectors. So this is one of our goals also when developing the taxonomy. So what are the objectives? The objectives is to create clarity so that the credentials are understandable across countries, to ensure that we have comparability so they can be recognized and combined, and also to maintain the flexibility so that they remain relevant to the specific needs of the construction sector. These objectives are what form the foundation of a sustainable taxonomy model for construction sector. Here we have some key dimensions of the taxonomy. We are seeing here 6. Actually, in the next table that you will see with the actual taxonomy, we have 9, but these are the most important. So the taxonomy classifies each microcredential using these 6 main dimensions. The first one is the EQF level. We have only focused to levels 3 from 6, because that's where we found that the greatest need in construction is. So the EQF level, in fact, what it does is defining the depth and the autonomy that is required. Then we have the learning volume, which is the total hours and the credit equivalence. We have the outcome type, which can be cognitive, technical, or transversal skills. We have the assessment mode. This is how the learning is actually verified, which also varies across the different levels. And we have the credit equivalence, where we try to integrate all of the existing credit systems. We have the pathway function, which determines whether it is a standalone microcredential, stackable, or if it's bridging. And we also have the outcome types, and these are the main dimensions to give every credential a clear and comparable identity. The first thing that we did is that we collected the most, let's say, popular credit systems that we have, or the legacy EQF, for example, that we had, and tried to create a crosswalk between them. So this was the first challenge that we faced, because we have different existing systems, and usually the providers, what they do, they use different systems. So we need to create a credit crosswalk between ECTS, the CDP hours, which is the continuous professional development hours that are usually used by companies, and as well the ISO of 17024. This allows the learning effort to be described in a standardized way, and support also the digital interpretability through the Europass digital credentials that we're actually working on the next work package number 4. In simple terms, we could say that this means that, for example, 1 hour of verified structured learning has a common value, regardless of where it was taken. Here you can see how we've connected the learning volume and the EQF level. For example, you can see that EQF 3, 2 and 3, we used the same, let's say, row for these two, because across different countries we saw that the level 2 and 3 is not the same, but they're very close. So that's why we have both of the levels in the first row. And for example, let's say that the microcredential in EQF 3 level might require about 15 to 40 hours of learning, while an EQF 6 credential could reach to 180 hours. So this type of standardization helps the training providers design more comparable microcredential, regardless to the ecosystem of the credits. And actually, this way we can support the practical classification. This is a small, let's say, just a small picturing of our taxonomy. I tried to compile and summarize the main aspects. You can see the whole of it in our report. This classification, it's not prescriptive. It's designed to enable the providers and the recognition bodies to position the microcredentials appropriately. So everyone that says tomorrow I need to design a microcredential, they can use this reference to see which level they should target according to their needs, and what typical pathway does this microcredential going to serve. So the table shows how each level is described in practice, beginning from basic operational competencies from EQF 3 to even leadership and innovation at EQF 6. Level 3 represents basic operational skills. Level 4 covers skilled technical work. The level 5 integrates supervision and problem solving. And level 6 focuses at the end on the advanced planning, analysis, and innovation. This helps, we think, the providers to design clear learning progressions and give the workers a visible career path development. And it also connects these assessment methods and the pathway roles. What benefits do we have from such a taxonomy? The taxonomy is useful for everyone that is involved. The learners gain clear and portable credentials. The providers can get to design and have the quality assurance and guidance. The employers gain the transparency in the workforce and the competency. And of course, the policymakers gain tools for recognition and lifelong learning strategies. So it's not just, let's say, an academic model. It's a practical framework for real implementation. And all of this was, as I said, validated through stakeholder validation, with consultations with partners, training providers. We used many feedback from, for example, from material companies, construction companies, all types of industry representatives from all 4 countries. And we reached to the result that the validation confirmed that this taxonomy is clear and it can be usable by them and also adaptable. So the stakeholders appreciated the practical structure and, of course, the alignment with the European frameworks and the ability to describe both formal and non-formal learning, especially non-formal learning, which is very widespread in the construction sector at this point. And also the feedback that we received emphasized the importance of the digital compatibility and the inclusion of recognition contexts, which we integrated into the final version. Overall, the validation process proved that the taxonomy is relevant and it's ready for implementation, and I think also adaptable to other sectors. This is all more or less. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope that we align with CEDEFOP's also vision about the micro-credentials. And we believe that our project offers a solid foundation for recognizing and expanding green skills across Europe and general construction sector. I think the standardization of the micro-credentials that are described and compared needs to be supported and more transparent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Actually, I think it's the implementation of what we discussed in the beginning of this morning. Now we have some more time. We extend the meeting because the technical problems we have, we didn't have much time for the colleagues to speak. So now it's the Q&A session. It's time for all of you to raise questions about what you have heard today and also possible recommendations. I urge you also to give ideas of how for the project, to Anastasia or anything else that it draws your attention and wants to be highlighted. If anyone has questions, and also now raise the hand. Yes.
Although I don't want to monopolize it, of course, the floor is for participants. Just a reaction to Ms. Kitinou's presentation, which I find very interesting, and also, of course, to Anna as well. Wonderful presentation, both. Just I wanted to add, like you see, when you, in your efforts to examine what is happening in member states in concrete national context, indeed, it's a bit of a sensitive issue because it is important to understand what kind of lens we are using to examine. the emergence of micro-credentials. For example, the Greek case, I tried to add some information we were also collecting from the ReferNet network, which is CEDEFOP's network that is composed of representatives of different member states, and they were, I mean, for each country, we're asking, to tell us what is the, let's say, progress with micro-credentials development. So they did point to some things happening in Greece, although indeed the country is lagging a bit behind. But still, I think overall, like as a kind of a taxonomy used, and let's say the different elements that the project has been using is quite sound. It's quite linked to the EU discussion on the topic, links to EQF, NQF levels, ECTS, ECVET, credit bearing. The only word of caution I would like to add is that quite often, and this of course doesn't come from me, but my discussion with different stakeholders in the field, is that in our efforts a bit to not regulate but somehow formalize what is happening within the sector, we're a bit risking losing out the flexible nature of micro-credentials. I definitely understand Ms. Kitinou's point on the way you can scale, like you can perhaps even compare types of micro-credentials within the sector. I understand totally why, what is the value of this exercise. It's just that happens that once you try to put it in a box, like how many hours, credits, or even, let's say, the way it is done, what is very important on the line is that it is okay, even if it doesn't align within that description, as long as you have short training and learning take place, having the elements of quality assurance, of the assessment, of learning outcomes achieved. These are key elements. But again, the concrete number, let's say the workload, the credit bearing, it can be a bit flexible, because micro-credentials' biggest benefit is that how, even if it can be a bit shorter than expected or a bit longer than it can be potentially imagined, still it can be an example of a micro-credential. So you see, quite often we discuss at any European level this idea of what is the margin between, let's say, formalizing it and leaving it a bit more flexible and open. But overall, it's a great work that has been done, and let's see how best we can use the results for our study as well.
Thank you very much, Anastasia. We appreciate it.
Perfect. Let's see other participants if have any question. Now it's the time to raise them. And also, I say again that for what also Anastasia said in chat about the surveys, and also reach her out in case you are interested and you're a construction-related professional, company, trade association, union, or whatsoever, for the executive interviews. So before anyone has another question, I also have a question about that, about the presentations. So I have an idea of how, Anastasia, you give us an idea of how micro-credentials can be implemented, but always is the question on how we can inspire companies to put it in action, because also Violeta has presented something very clearly structured that we also have in the project on how we can incorporate the methodological guidelines and create the taxonomy and all of that. But when we go to the reality and started to put in implementation in a construction company itself, the micro-credentials, many think that they are a burden. So just a question that I crossed my mind, how we can put it in action.
Them.
Yes, in a way.
No, very good question, very valid. Actually, touches the heart of the exercise, indeed. Well, as I said, it's important that you have at an European level this council recommendation on the topic. Things were very, very different from when we started examining what is the situation, because companies, industry representatives were quite reluctant in understanding this new instrument, let's say. However, I think that's very important to understand in their effort and I'm really referring to industries, to big companies, in their efforts to really retain their existing workforce and for them to have, let's say, the current skill set needed within the company, they need to somehow somehow indeed accept and recognize these micro-credential offerings. What is happening now in different countries, in Europe, there are legislative arrangements in place. Now we are going more to the implementation side. For example, I remember the Slovakians would tell me they even had a law prepared, not necessarily referring to micro-credentials, they would call it micro-qualification, when it is a credential being part of their formal system, and at the same time, when it was in the private sector, it was a micro-certificate. Okay, namings do not necessarily matter, but what I'm saying is that because they were on purpose in their national context preparing this legislative a bit background, that would somehow allow a better recognition in that sense, and also entering the private system. Now, quite often industries and companies themselves can act as providers of this training. For example, if we talk about IT, you have Microsoft, Cisco, Google, in any case themselves providing this short training and learning processes and certifying the skill set. The interesting thing is with construction, what is happening. We have to really investigate closely the construction sector, and this is what we are doing from CEDEFOP side in the next year, to see what type of companies we have, because there is a percentage of big and small companies within the sector. So, for example, are there any chances that the bigger companies are the ones will be delivering the training learning? Will they be somehow a trusted, accredited provider that can create this type of micro-credential? Do employees in the sector know it? Are they aware? And in cases they get a training, can that again be officially certified and recognized in the company so that employees manage to progress? So there are different questions. It's still an open issue. But I think the situation is more positive now than before. And again, for me, it's important on who is the provider. What is happening, because the owner needs to know, and in case they are not the ones delivering the training, at least they can accept the brand names within the construction industry, and allowing employees not only to retain a full qualification, but rather to have something shorter coming in. But I see hands raised. Carlos, maybe.
Yes, Carlos, and after Melanie. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. It's just it's my opinion. I think the companies need micro-credential. I know the market, and I see the company needs very much micro-credentials. You don't need big courses. You need directionally micro-credential for these workers. And I think we have a first step for another things we can do with micro-credential. In Portugal, for example, we have our catalog is not a micro-credential summary. It's long courses. And after the companies say, oh, but I need a worker by the next month, and he knows that. And like I said, the company needs micro-credential, but you need to adapt for the necessity of our companies. It's my opinion.
Yes, indeed. And then Melanie, perhaps.
Melanie, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's I like the focus of CEDEFOP for the upcoming year, because you were saying you will be looking very closely to the construction sector, and in the Green Circle project, we are actually a private training provider from Germany, one of the biggest one for the construction industry, very specifically. And we are there already in a dilemma, which is always increasing when there's a lack of skilled workforce, which means actually, on the one hand, huge companies are training and qualifying their staff by themselves, which doesn't need certification, because they want to protect the workforce and they don't want to lose it, and they don't want to throw it on the market or make it public that they have skills, because they are scared of losing their stuff. And on the other hand, sometimes when when there are legislative arrangements or when there are rules that you need certain certificates or pre-qualifications to be unable to access public funding in the economy, then they need the certificates or the credentials, because otherwise they cannot participate. So whenever the construction sector is in a pre-qualification process, then we are the ones providing the certificates, because they are not recognized. They can't do that by themselves. They need an independent training provider, which is doing that. That's very close to the industry. And this is what we are doing for decades. The only difference is that in the past, this only happened basically to protect the German construction market. But now, as Europe is growing together, this question needs to be raised again and again and again, because we need to know what kind of future we are stepping into. And are we opening up or are we shutting down? That is the big question. And then you might be able to answer the question, who's offering microcredentials? You know, so actually.
Yeah. No, very good. Very valid. I think the idea is not to dump down, but to really open up, actually. I mean, at least from what we see, like in systems in other countries that are very traditional, very, let's say, focusing on the more traditional pathway, educational pathway, then now with the micro-credential discussion, they are a bit opening up. And we see also national qualification framework developments becoming more comprehensive, really opening up to the non-formal, to the private sector. But again, as you rightly pointed out, it really depends on what exactly you want to do. Like, and then I'm just a bit thinking about the company, the industry that is a bit reluctant to lose their workforce. This is an important issue, because indeed they are training them to retain them, and this is important for the employee himself, herself, that is in any case staying within the employment, because quite often they are very precarious. Quite often it's not a given that you are staying forever in a company. I mean, if we look at it at an individual level, maybe it's not that bad, but if you want really to allow those workers to become more mobile in a lifelong learning and really be able to even get employed from other companies, that's an issue indeed. There are different things to be discussed here, and I think only by looking and zooming in on the specificities of construction, we can have more, we can convey better messages. I can already tell you that we looked a bit at the manufacturing and retail sector in the past, and I can share that publication. Maybe it can be helpful and guide you, like give you some inspirations on that side of the economy. And yeah, you're right. I mean, Melanie, it's not an easy discussion, but you have your hands raised again.
Yeah, I didn't want to cut you, because I have a completely different comment also on your nice presentation. So I think we all agree on this point, and it's yeah, we are keen on finding out what CEDEFOP is doing there next year. And another point is you introduced that you also picked the creative sector.
Yes.
For your research, and that's very, very interesting, because we always recognize, even if we are looking for stuff in our own enterprise, those people are very, very valuable for us, because communication is a pain in the ass for construction. So anybody or anything that supports communication, no matter if internal or external, is helping. And sometimes the skills, other skills that are necessary, can be developed a little bit easier. But if those basics are not there, that's very difficult. And what unites us all is that we are all creative. People underestimate the stuff in construction, because every construction site is individual. You have to find solutions at all times, and nothing is comparable. Everything is unique. So we are very, very creative people. So there are certain, there is a common ground for these different sectors working together in situations. It's working very well.
Very good. Good to hear.
Very
I think
very supportive. Yes.
Melanie, I mean, and you and all the participants of this webinar, please try and join if you can. As I said, my webinar next week, and please do try and register for breakout session 1, where I'm actually continuing this discussion on your 2 sectors, like the construction sector and the CCI one, and we have also very good representatives of those again in the meeting, and also maybe if you allow me to come back to you at a later stage with our research, because as Anastasia mentioned, we will be having targeted interviews with people, representatives of the sector that know more things than we do. They can give us more closer insights into mainly the challenges. I'm very much interested to see what is really the issue and how best we, the CEDEFOP research, and also the developments that take place in other countries can potentially support your sector as well. So let's keep the discussion going, if you allow me. And yes, and next week we have the meeting, and then let's stay together by email exchange. And as I said, from our side, I can definitely share any type of publication we are producing on the topic, and then we try to do, let's say, different things on that angle.
Thank you, Anastasia. Please share the material that you share also in the chat.
I did something already.
Yes.
I did that, and in the event we'll share a lot also.
Yes, and all the participants will have access to that, as we said, and also the recording. Also, I see a comment here, the last about Slovenia. The situation is the same. As they say, for own skills, academics, workers are moving for better salary. So it's a common problem in Europe. In case we don't have any other question, I think we can, for today, only close, but the conversation is still open for the next webinar that Anastasia said, and also for other upcoming webinars, because as Green Circle Consortium, we will going to organize different parts of webinars dedicated to the matter. So we will also inform all of you. I don't see any other hand raised, but I urge all participants. Okay, Melanie said that she will try to participate. I urge all participants, if they have questions after the meeting that they generated from this conversation and recording, can also send us email or through social media or dedicated to the speakers. Violeta, Anastasia, and Anna will for sure come back to you. I want to close today the meeting, let's say. Try to comment. Valentina, if you want to explain something that you write, we don't understand. Not possible. UK scheme, okay.
I put about
yes, can
you
say, okay.
About the UK scheme that is very well established and over documented.
Did you write something, because we didn't see it? Sorry.
Yes, Valentina did, and actually she shared the link, asking whether these microcredentials are related to. But I don't know if your question, Valentina, is for me or any other speaker, or maybe it's on this.
It's the best for you, Anastasia. Mrs. Pouliou,
yes.
Because we have studied this when we were applying for Boost Slovenia this year, finally after 15 years, and we've seen that this system in UK works really well. And I think we might inventing this microcredential as warm water again, because we might copy the system they have as established. When you step in a construction site, you have to present yourself with some card, and this card showing which skills you are and knowledge you are capable of. And you can only do work for the skills where you have these digital certificates. You can have many, but they're kind of badges, and there are about 35 web centers and organizations issuing these badges for skills. So I think this system might be similar to what we are now doing here in European Union.
For sure.
Have a look of this.
I will look at it for sure, Valentina. I just accessed the link. It seems very interesting. It's a kind of a card also that provides, as you say, a proof that somebody has a training and qualifications needed for the job. So we have to examine what.
It's like a digital passport.
Regulated in UK. Yeah, not anybody can work on a construction site, and now also because of that, salaries of workers were raised because now, as you know, this is the worst paid job in the industry. Only craftsmen could get good salaries. So these help to increase payment of workers.
Yeah, definitely. It's linked to payment for sure and salaries. But yeah, so this is UK, the thing. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. I will look at it from my side, and I think also the other colleagues that are in the construction sector mainly.
There were 3 European projects on this under Erasmus. I was not part of it. They were studying this scheme, so and I don't know what is now with those projects. They were final, but nothing happened, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. This is maybe on the Commission angle to check if it's a Erasmus Plus project and what happened. I mean, we are not aware. We are like the agency that supports Commission with regards to the vocational education and training, as we said before. But yeah, in any case, we link to construction and the whole discussion on training and learning. I think they are very relevant. But I also need to look at it, browse the website, and see, you know, all the different specificities on that angle.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's also interesting, I think, maybe for a next article, so for our project to examine this, I think, as a research part.
Yeah,
so very nice. Thank you, Valentina, for sharing again the question. Okay, so in case we don't have, I think we don't have any other question for today. Let's close this conversation for now. Thank you very much, Anastasia, for joining us today and helping us to enforce the project, and also Anna, of course, as the leader of the project, and Violeta, because they enrich it and put it in practice, everything that we hear today. And let's hope we will meet again for next series of ideas and webinars on this matter, because it's very interesting also for all of us. And again, we will share with you also the recordings and the material, and also for the survey, Valentina, this is very interesting that you shared. You can also participate in the survey that Anastasia has mentioned. I think it's very nice to have interconnected countries and participants all throughout Europe to create something holistic about the micro-credentials.
Indeed. Thank you. And as Angela said, let's use the LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is a very nice social platform where we can all exchange research results, outputs, and let's stay connected. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anastasia.
Have a nice day, all of you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.